Well, that's it. It's over. The end has come for our favorite almost couple, and things will never be the same again. Tears were shed, chests were beaten, and there was much wailing and gnashing of teeth. Just kidding. Do you really think Fukuda-sensei would do that to us? It's called literary tension, people. Calm down. This isn't Twitter, and we're not here for hot takes. We're here for analysis. Welcome once again to Musings by Danon. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Danon. I'm currently reading over 600 manga and light novels, and my two favorite genres are fantasy and romance. So on this channel, we talk a lot about both of those genres, but we tend to look more into story structure and tropes rather than how cool the fight scenes are, or how great the animation or artwork is. Which brings me to the subject of today's video, a discussion of chapters 105 and 106 of My Dress Up Darling. Spoilers. Duh. Also, and I know it's annoying to keep hearing this, but statistically if I don't ask you to like and subscribe, the video gets fewer subscribers. Okay, let's start by reviewing what happened, and then I want to focus on a couple of key moments and what they mean for the future. Chapter 105 starts out with Gojo remembering the conversation with Marin several months ago that started them on this journey. All the way back in Chapter 1, Marin begged Gojo to sew cosplay clothes for her, and their relationship has mostly been tied to cosplay ever since. Marin thinks up a costume she wants to wear. She and Gojo watch the anime or play the game the character is from. Gojo then designs, confirms the design, and makes the costume. More and more, this has become a collaborative effort rather than just Marin making requests. The two of them working to form a unified vision, Marin shining in the light and Gojo working from the shadows. But over the last few chapters, that unification seems to be breaking. Yin without the yang. Gojo mentions his plans for the future, and how he still wants to be a Kashirashi. His goal in life is to paint Hina doll faces, and Marin has come to realize that she is in the way of him completing his dream. And then, throwing another wrench in the plan, along comes Nan-chan, the girl who traumatized Gojo when he was still dealing with the death of his parents. Getting back to Chapter 105, Marin seems to be avoiding Gojo. Normally, the two of them are hanging out, but she doesn't seem to care where he is. This shocks some of her friends. You two are close, aren't you? At karaoke, Noah sings a sad love song about one shoe missing the other shoe. Foreshadowing much? Especially since Gojo was left all alone. But because he was alone, he was able to have a one-on-one conversation with Usami-san, the fabric salesman that Gojo has been going to for advice for a long time. Of course, the older gentleman immediately notices something is wrong with Gojo. The two sit down to talk, but we don't exactly get to see what they talked about. I assume it was Gojo meeting with Nan-chan again, and the traumatic memories that brought up. But it could also be about Gojo's future and what he wants to do. The reason I point that out is because Usami-san tells Gojo a bit about his past. When he was a child, Usami-san wants to get into clothing design, but his father talked him out of it. There are already tons of people who sell clothes, why does the world need one more? And so he backed down. He gave up on his dream due to bullying from his father. But even if he had failed, so what? By failing, you learn something, and there's no way to know what the future holds. One day he told his wife about his dream, and she encouraged him to follow it. And now his life is peaceful and fulfilling. If you've never worked in a hobby or craft store, it is the paradise of retail. A lot of retail jobs suck, but when you have a specialty store that sells to a specific group of customers, be it comic books, yarn, games, you get to interact with passionate people who love coming to your store, rather than Karens who hate the world and only want to bitch all the time. Speaking of stores that are fun to shop at, it's time for a quick word from today's sponsor, Temu. I'm sure you've already heard of Temu, but maybe you haven't ordered from them yet. If not, don't worry. They are not as bad as Wish.com. I've ordered plenty of things from them over the last few years and haven't had a bad experience. If you're wanting unique products for very cheap and to help support this channel, click on the link down below. Yes, they even have anime figures. The conversation with Usami-san reminds Gojo of one of his first conversations with Marin. Usami regrets not telling his father that he wanted to do it anyway, and Marin told Gojo he needs to stand up for himself and say what he really wants. This really helps to hammer the point home for Gojo. He starts walking home, reminiscing about Marin and how much not just her words, but her as a person has impacted his life. Of course, when he arrived home, the other girl who made a huge impact on his life when he was a boy was waiting for him. But this time Gojo isn't a boy. He's not a man yet, but he's closer to being a man than a boy. He tells Nan-chan what is on his mind and stands up for his beliefs. But Nan-chan didn't come to fight with him. For years, the words she said in anger to Gojo have haunted her. Like him, she's been trapped in the past. The two sit down and she explains what happened. Gojo doesn't remember waking up in the middle of the night crying about his parents' death. He doesn't remember much about that time at all. Nan still doesn't know how to apologize to him, and part of her feels that she's only apologizing for her own sake, so that she'll feel better, which makes her feel even more guilty about it. After all, what she did was unforgivable, and she knows she's a horrible person for saying it in the first place. But Gojo forgives her. After all, she was just a little kid, so Gojo understands. Gojo also realizes that he has something to confess, especially after not hearing from Marin for a few days. While in his room, he's rereading Mandate of Heaven, and one line catches him off guard. "I don't know which one is the real me." Gojo makes a phone call and then rushes over to Marin's house. Marin never replied to Gojo about what outfit she wanted him to work on next. Of course, this next page is what is causing an uproar in the fan base. Marin tells Gojo that she won't ask for his help anymore. Let's break this down and discuss what's going on. If this line came out of nowhere, I'd say we're getting the bad ending, but it didn't come out of nowhere. This has been building for multiple chapters. In fact, you could argue that this has been building since Marin realized her feelings for Gojo. I also think this statement will force a conversation between Marin and Gojo that has been a long time coming. They've both tried to broach the subject of their future multiple times over the last few chapters, only to get interrupted. Now, this is just conjecture, but I believe Marin has been feeling guilty about lying to Gojo. As far as she knows, Gojo views their relationship as platonic. Remember the night he spent at her place? She even put on cute underwear because she was convinced Gojo was going to take her in a manly fashion. But he stayed up all night playing video games instead. So there's no way he views her romantically, right? Marin has been in love with this boy, like head over heels, can't think straight when she's around him, for months. Remember, they started hanging out at the beginning of the school year, sometime in late April or early May. It is now January. So for the better part of the time that she's known Gojo, Marin has been in love and keeping it a secret. And that would be fine if it weren't for how he keeps rejecting her. This has played hell with Marin's self-esteem, and to top it all off, her selfish desires have interfered with Gojo's dream of becoming a Kashirashi. So the best thing she can do for the one she loves is to remove herself from his life. It's what's best for Gojo, right? Except Gojo understands that his relationship with Marin has been helping him to work towards his dream. His grandfather has complimented him on how much better his line work has become since helping Marin with her makeup. Because Gojo is now looking at human faces rather than just the faces of dolls. His lines are softer because he's practiced on Marin so many times. His hands are more sure because his confidence has risen. Sure, he's got a long way to go, but he's getting there. The problem is Marin being stuck in her own head to the point that she's giving herself anxiety attacks. My hope is that next month, when Chapter 107 drops, we'll finally see them share what's been on their minds. And maybe we'll be lucky enough to get a confession. But even if we don't, I hope this next chapter will offer us some hope. Thanks for tuning in. Once again, a huge shout out to my editor Cute Stuff. I couldn't make these videos without her. If you'd like to hire her to edit your own videos, she can be reached at cutestuff.edits@gmail.com. Link is down below. If you're looking for ways to support the channel directly, you can head on over to patreon.com/Danon. There are several tiers to choose from. You can pick an anime or manga for me to do a video about, or you can join our monthly manga club. I also wanted to give a quick shout out to all of my patrons: Waffles, Jiraiya, Danny, Muffins, Marcus, Brett, Roxy, Sean, Mark, Borgie, Nazwin, Midge, Alex, Conga, Aaron, Chris, Robert, Austin, Pi, William, Turner, Triz, Kazaris, and Slack. You guys are awesome. I post anime or manga videos often, or you can click here to watch additional videos. Again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all again next time on Musings by Danon.